Food is a language shared around the world. Specifically in the Black community, this love language is revered and a huge part of our culture. It comes from our desire to nourish each other, spend time together, and maintain our culture and traditions. A common misconception is that you must throw away your cultural traditions in order to be healthy. That's simply not true. Our culture influences our way of thinking, how we perceive ourselves, how we prepare our foods, and socialize over food. As Black people, many of us feel that our identity and community values are highly connected to the foods we eat. Food is at the epicenter of many major events in our lives, whether a happy occasion like a wedding or a graduation, or a sad occasion like losing a job or a death in the family. Personally, socializing over food is a major part of my identity. I enjoy the foods that I grew up learning how to make with my parents and grandparents. And to this day, they remain a part of my diet, now though it's in moderation or prepared in different ways. They still remain a vital part of me. Foods like sweet potatoes and collard greens and fried chicken, and all of the other soul food dishes that may come to your mind. Even though now I'm more mindful about my consumption, one thing remains true. The connection and togetherness we build over food is special. Whether it's being able to catch up with friends and family over brunch or hosting dinner parties at my home, this is what I value the most. It's the connection. According to the United States Department of Health and Human Services, African American women have the highest rates of living with obesity or overweight compared to other groups in the U.S. This means that about 4 out of 5 African American women are overweight or obese. These statistics are more than numbers. They present a community-impacting reality. Obesity isn't just a cosmetic concern rooted in westernized views of beauty. It's a chronic disease and should be treated as a medical problem. I want to disrupt this narrative of it being the person's fault and focus attention on the fact that being overweight or obese stems from deep-rooted systemic issues like racism and the social determinants of health. These are those non-medical factors that contribute to poor health outcomes, like lack of access to health care, education, or employment opportunities. All of these issues are mostly out of a person's control. These statistics show that over half the population of Black women living in the U.S., they are at high risk of developing chronic diseases like diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, or some cancers, all of which can lead to premature disability and/or death. Now that we know the facts and some reasons, as we say sometimes, there's no need to cry over spilled milk. We need to go directly to formulating solutions that support us living our beautiful, healthy Black woman life. Black women are the backbone of our families and pillars of the community. We are leaders and entrepreneurs and change agents. And to do our work, we must be healthy and not at the extent of dissing our culture and traditions in order to achieve mainstream views on how we should look and feel. The first action needed is we have to lose sight of fad diets and juice cleanses. They've been in existence longer than I care to think about. And truth be told, they're not sustainable and they can cause more harm than good in some cases. So instead, I'm suggesting that we return to our most treasured possession, our roots. Our culture of connecting around a table of healthy and whole foods is precisely what's needed to reverse this trend. To dig deeper into this issue, I conducted a research study where I interviewed 15 Black women, and I asked them how their social network and cultural traditions impacted their weight. Many of the women wanted to focus on being healthy instead of achieving a magical number on the scale. Some of my findings showed that their culture was influential in the decisions they made in their adulthood about their nutrition and physical activity. And many wanted to focus on simply being healthy while also still honoring their culture. Some noted their social circles helped them stay accountable to their health goals. There's a common misconception that our culture and healthy living are at different ends of the spectrum, and they can't coexist in the same space. I'm here to tell you that we don't have to compromise our culture to be healthy. Soul food is a staple in our community and kept us hopeful during hard times. It's our scarcity mindset that developed during those hard times and which is still prevalent today for some, that is what's impacting our relationship with food. A scarcity mindset related to food means you're concerned about not having enough food. This mindset is deep-rooted in slavery and poverty. If you're not sure where your next meal will come from, sometimes you adopt habits like eating everything on your plate, even though you're not hungry, or eating food whenever it's offered to you. Enjoying our cultural food should not be to the detriment of our health. The habit of overeating or consuming unhealthy foods consistently, That's what has long-reaching negative health effects. Research has shown that foods high in salt, sugar, or fat, they can release happy chemicals in your brain like dopamine. Over time, you might start to crave these foods more, even if you're not hungry. Our food is delicious, so I get it. Sometimes it's really hard to be disciplined, but we can try to adjust how we prepare our food to be healthier, while also retaining its deliciousness and full flavors. For one, I season my meat on both sides. Healthy eating isn't only about the ingredients you choose. It's also about how you prepare your food. Focusing on healthy cooking methods helps food retain more nutrients, and this leads to healthier outcomes. I know cooking with fats can sometimes give our food that extra punch. Let's face it, every time it gives. But with new technology, there are healthier cooking methods that are very close to the original methods, like using an air fryer. Baking, broiling, and grilling are other healthier options too. You can try them out, and then you can decide what works best for you. I was late to the air fryer world, but once I got on the bandwagon, it changed my life. I was able to quickly prepare meals that still resembled what I was used to and still had tons of flavor. It got me excited about eating in the house again after 2 years of ordering Uber Eats in the pandemic. Another cooking method is using too much sugar or salt. Yes, we like a good seasoning, but we need to do it in moderation and use other alternatives that work just as well. One thing I do is only use one salt-based seasoning when cooking, or I use a little bit of sea salt at the end of my meal to limit the use of my salt. Also, I like to use herbs and spices to enhance the flavor, plus adding garlic and ginger, onions and peppers to not only add flavor, but also color to my meal. Does this mean we need to take out our favorite foods? Hell no. I'm certainly not going to do that because I believe in a moderation mindset, not a deprivation mindset. Some of my favorite foods need to be modified to be healthier, and some of them need to be seen as treats or special occasion foods and not part of your daily food intake. Now, it's one thing to change our cooking method or modify our food, but how do we know we're getting results? Believe it or not, the number on the scale is not the only way to judge your overall health and wellness. I'm sure you all can agree with me and understand that as Black women, we have to come together to ensure our community is healthier so we can live our best lives. I think one of our greatest problems is that we're going about it the wrong way. And by wrong, I mean focusing on the BMI, the body mass index. We need to move past only using the BMI to prove our health and wellness. The BMI is a measure of body fat based on height and weight. Yes, it's a useful tool, but it's not the end-all be-all, and it doesn't take into account where your weight is distributed or how much muscle you have. My research showed that Black women did not identify with the BMI and didn't subscribe to society's view of what a healthy weight should be. The women who participated in my research study, they wanted to be healthy and chronic disease-free, rather than focus on an arbitrary number on the scale. I don't think BMI is the best measure. Instead, we should focus on waist circumference and overall health. Studies have shown that waist circumference is a better indicator of determining a person's disease risk. This is because the more fat you have around your midsection means the more fat surrounding your vital organs that keep your body functioning. Contrary to popular belief, being skinny doesn't mean you're not going to develop a chronic disease like high blood pressure. When identifying health risk in adults, it's recommended that you combine your BMI classification along with your waist circumference to measure your overall disease risk. There's another concept called health at every size that shifts the focus from the scale to being physically active and eating healthy to support a longer, better quality of life. This ties into my research findings and my idea of embracing your culture to live healthy, enjoying the foods you find tasty, doing the physical activity that you enjoy, and tapping into our social support systems to embrace a holistic view of health and wellness. One thing I like is a unifying factor. So even though we have spoken on different things today, a unifying factor is a community, whether it's the one you're born into or the one you've cultivated. A community that maintains our cultural dignity while living a healthy life is what we all need. We can work to move past our scarcity mindsets and trying to achieve unrealistic societal weight norms, and instead focus on our communities and families. As Black women, it's likely that we may consume similar foods, and we can relate to our relationship with food better than anyone else. So building a community of accountability and encouragement, that's the bedrock to achieving healthy living for us all. We need to harness our social network so we can all win together while maintaining our roots and our cultural dignity, which makes up our beautiful story. We should focus on building healthy relationships with our food, tapping into our social networks to hold us accountable for our personal wellness goals, and focusing on being healthy at any size. I grew up in a household centered around food. We ate dinner together, we prepared meals together, we grocery shopped together. I didn't realize how much these activities impacted me until I got older. And I realized those were some of my fondest childhood memories. And those are memories I wanted to recreate with my friends. We built bonds over food, we shared stories about our day, we dreamed about our future, we talked about social issues and politics, and we had deep family conversations. Sharing these conversations over food, it made it easier to relax and to be vulnerable with one another. As I grew up, I wanted to maintain this tradition. I purposely chose friend groups that honored my wellness journey and that understood that we needed to make a few changes in order to be the healthiest we can be, while also still remaining true to our essence, our culture, our food. Now when we go out, we explore different cuisines, we try different ways to prepare foods, and we explore different seasonings. We continue to bond over food, but now in a healthier way. We're on this journey together, and we want to see each other be healthy so we can continue enjoying life together. Obesity is a multifaceted issue, and it's going to take a new approach to solve. That approach is definitely not a one-size-fits-all strategy. It's a do-it-together kind of strategy. I want us to encourage each other to put some color back on our plates and use soulful seasonings to liven up our food. Let's focus on the Black dining tradition of cooking at home with family and embracing our culture when making decisions about the food we eat. Infusion culture should be at the forefront of healthy food decision making. We should not have to alter our way of being just to be what society wants us to be. Sharing food is a form of love. Food is a way of building and protecting our cultural dignity, our traditions, and honoring our ancestors. Food is a way of building lifelong connections. I invite you to find a friend or a partner and commit to honoring your health and wellness journey. I invite you to find a friend and EAT, which stands for Evolving Our Attitudes Towards Wellness. I invite you to eat together. Thank you for having me.